So these videos happen to have a way of taking longer than I always plan. And so I end up sitting here like a chatty Cathy talking about my astrology card and whether or not I think I'm going to manifest my dream wife who has these fat triple L breasts. And then I think to myself, the double D's are not enough. It's not enough. It's just not going to work. So anyways, guys, welcome back. By the way, do not forget, I do this channel so that I can alarm all of you to the fact that I have written the stories to remind you what a good story is. I've written the stories to replace the wokeness in our media and in our storytelling. I also went out of my way to make sure that they have creativity and imagination in mind. This is the best stuff out there. You are a raging homosexual who wants more of the gay and feminist dog crap that we get today. If you do not pick up my stuff, it just shows. It shows how much you like dudes. Pathetic. Pathetic. True satanic behavior. So anyways, outside of you hating God and specifically defiling other men, we are back for some more video from my inside reporter, Asmin on Gold. And let me squint my eyes super hard. Oh, wow. This is pathetic. That's a good video title. That's really good. That is some quality content, as the retards from the quality crowd, as they like to call it. This is quality content. By the way, do not be a queer retard. Actually pick up my books, mother effer. Charles Arlington on Amazon. Love of God, you forgot what a good story is, because it's been a long time now. This is the crap I write should be on our movies and in our games. So again, stop being a freaking retard and go pick it up, you freaking clown. Hong Kong mother effer, what's up? Oh gosh. So anyways, this is pathetic. And I watched the first minute and I was like, dang, this is impressive. I now understand why this guy is the talk of the freaking town. This guy must get all the ladies. By the way, Yasmin, if you've got any some hot double D-breasted Asians, they're looking for a guy to I can't say that. Frick. Anyways, a guy to lay it down. Lay it freaking down. I'm right here. Oh man.
People have been going crazy about this.
So last night news came out that Dragon Age the Veilguard is indeed a financial failure. And the
who would have thought?
I feel like every single week we find out that another game that everybody knew was going to be garbage that came out actually sold really badly. And it's like a financial failure and people are losing their jobs. It's like every single week this seems to be happening.
Everyone knew it was trash. But isn't it funny that leftists think that they deserve to own the economy and that everybody wants the crap that they spew politically, culturally? It's like, hi there, I came out with this dog trash woke game with ugly women in it and also gender affirming care. And it's like, oh, wow, great. Well, enjoy that. You're not getting anyone's money. And they're like, well, how did it happen like this? And how's Marvel Rivals with, by the way, Sue Storm called me up with these women with these thick type breasts. How is this game doing so well? It makes no sense that women with thick type breasts. It's so weird. I'm sorry. Let me actually put it the way that I've done it iconically, which is thick type breasts. There we go. That's the actual full delivery. Anyways, Sue Storm called me up, and also Black Widow, and also all the other women. I can't say that. Okay. Shoot. Anyways, threesome. So, anyways, they sit there and they're so confused. They're like, how did Trump win the election? He's a narcissist and he's a raging bigot and he should never win an election. It's because retard, you're a retard, and retard, you're a leftist, and retard, you're stupid and you like gay people.
Happening. And this week we got two of them.
chills. They are very upset by this news, and they're making all kinds of coat posts and like rage posts.
That's all they
about it.
do.
For example, this one that says the reason why Veilguard didn't sell well, unpopular opinion, but I think Veilguard's reputation just got damaged by the anti-woke crowd.
Oh,
even
no.
Before the game came out.
Am I
And we're
gonna be
gonna read that
named?
full
But I thought they had no power. I thought they had no. So, okay, again, these people in all their narratives that they always spew. So I thought the anti-woke crowd had no power. That's what I thought. I thought the anti-woke people didn't exist. I thought you could just ignore them. It's like, oh, they're irrelevant. They're just a bunch of retard bigots, right? And that's why there's such a small minority that they should just be censored, right? Kicked out of the conversation, that these platforms should preference you over the anti-woke people, right? Oh, but now they're a big problem because your dog filth, nobody wants it, including your own kind.
post in just a minute because it looks hilarious.
Oh, no.
But first, let's just get
Why do you use as your avatar for your channel? Why do you use the avatar as a woman that I want to have sex with? Why do you do that? Like, you know, sometimes it's hyperbole to say like, wow, this guy must be a raging homosexual. This guy might be a raging homosexual because like, why are you identifying yourself when you're speaking with a random anime chick that would totally penetrate? Why would you do that? A genuine question. You're not that woman. That woman is that woman who totally exists in real life. I would totally have sex with her. But like, genuine question. What the frick are you doing?
the news real quick. So
am
yeah,
I
this
gonna
headline
get-
from ITC reads: Dragon Age: The
Uh-oh.
Veilguard failed in sales, only got 50% of EA's expectations.
Man,
Half of what they wanted, man. Terrible.
That's
The
bad.
full write-up, which is only a few brief paragraphs.
Half of what they wanted. And what they wanted was not even that much. So they deserve it. That game was so bad. And I covered it extensively. I made my review on it. So if you're a retard queer, and by the way, you're not a retard queer anymore if you bought my book. So what's up? So if you're Chad and chiseled intellectual like me, then anyways, what's up? Then you already know. You already know everything. If you've watched the review, you know how retarded the game is and how bad it is. And I didn't even cover all of it. Like, the game is a monstrous waste of time. It's so terrible. And what the frick?
Reads: Electronic Arts shares plummeted by 18%, the biggest drop since 2008. This
I
huge
did
drop
this.
came after the company warned
Sorry,
that its
guys.
financial results would be lower than expected
Yeah,
due to
my
poor
bad.
sales results of 2 games. They put most of the blame for the poor financial results on its football game, EA Sports FC 2025, which was released in September and received mixed reviews. This month, the company introduced an update. Another culprit, though, is the role-playing game Dragon Age: The Veilguard, which was released in October after a tumultuous development cycle. It reached 1.5 million players during the quarter, falling short of the company's expectations by about 50%. So yeah, this thing was a complete financial failure. How embarrassing, man. Pathetic sales. And then over on Steam, it's also getting worse for Veilguard because the recent review score has dropped all the way down to mixed at only 64%, and the all-time score barely hanging on to its mostly positive rating of 70%.
this is not good. The game's not very good. It's really simple.
Wow, the bots are losing the fight. The bots are losing the culture war. Oh
Like,
no.
it's an average game. I think if it was $20, it'd be fine. But for $60 or $70 as a AAA game, nah, bro. Like, it's just not
Oh
gonna
yeah,
happen.
it's totally
And the
fine,
rating is also
Asmin.
fall below 70%.
Asmin, you freaking cock. And they call this guy the anti-woke. Isn't that crazy? Like, the left really would freak out if they actually knew what anti-woke people had to say. Like, actual anti-woke, because Asmin's not even anti-woke. But if actual anti-woke people, if leftists had to listen to those people, oh my gosh. I'm not going to say anything more on that. I could say a couple of things, but I'm going to leave it there. You already know. You know how they respond. So, yeah, these people are pretty pathetic.
And also become a mixed score. Furthermore, as we discussed a few days ago, the Veilguard director Trent Bush also fled the company, leaving BioWare. I wonder
Thank God. I mean, so I don't know what's happening. Did they scrap Mass Effect 5? I mean, what the frick are they doing then? But if he left, I think that's the guy, or maybe it's someone else, or someone, yeah, it's some other maybe game director that left. I don't know. But wow.
Out. She roached out. That's what happens. I
Oh,
think
it's a
that's the
woman? Oh gosh.
most annoying thing. Like, somebody a minute ago was asking, like, who do you think does more damage, immigrants or billionaires? I think that stuff like that is the reason why people ask questions.
Wait,
the
what?
company, leaving BioWare. I
Like,
wonder
roached out. She roached out. That's what happens. I think that that's the most annoying thing. Like, somebody a minute ago was asking, like, who do you think does more damage, immigrants or billionaires? I think that stuff like
Immigrants, you freaking tard? What the frick? But Oh man. Oh leftists. Oh man, leftists. Oh gosh. Oh god, dude. Dude, they're not the same thing. If you could pick one, dude, it's not the same thing. What the frick? Who does more damage? Like, well, you don't really want to hurt your bottom line, and if Americans have to put up with all these freaking trash cans coming into their country, then yeah, that's going to really hurt the country overall. The billionaires, right? They might have the companies, but when your people are completely demoralized and they freaking had it, and everything around them, housing prices, grocery prices, breast milk or whatever the frick it's called, it was going through a shortage because of immigrants, these pieces of trash coming into the country. When you're having resource shortages because of all these people, and your currency is becoming more and more debased, and you just go down the list, it's like, yeah, that's a pretty big issue. And like, the billionaires are not going to be billionaires for long. I mean, they're going to flee the country and go somewhere else, but their enterprise in the country that they may or may not have ruined, because you don't know, there's a bunch of them. They throw a lot of their money around to specifically minorities, so screw them. But, regardless, I mean, billionaires, they enrich the economy despite maybe some of the damages that they might incur upon the economy. It depends on the billionaire. With these illegals, they overall destroy a civilization, its people, its culture. Most of them are not, almost any of them are supermodels. If they were supermodels, it'd be a different story. Then I'd be like, what's up? Call me. But no. So, I mean, what a retarded position to take. There's a bunch of billionaires. There's not many of them. And the ones that there are, they're not even that terrible. And they had to earn their way to that. And other ones, nepotism. Well, okay, a good number of them were nepotismic, but they had to work for something at the very least. And I guess why? I mean, I guess the argument is that the immigrants, they have to work to do their crime. Okay, well, great, whatever, man. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of problems with billionaires. So I mean, really, man, it's so stupid. And yeah, there's issues with billionaires. Yeah, but what the frick? I mean, both of it's a problem. What the F? Screw you.
That is the reason why.
And by the way, there would be much, much less billionaires if the government did not bail out these companies or fund them. The government funds a bunch of billionaires and their companies. So it's very quick and easy to fix the economy in so many ways. For one, stop taxing the American people like we see today. Literally execute people who illegally cross into the country unless they're really attractive. Then you can keep the women. And the dudes, maybe, I don't know about the dudes. I don't really like where this is going. But if they're not criminally engaged, then maybe you can consider it. But honestly, no. So anyways, keep the women. And so execute everyone else. And jeez Louise, I don't even want to make exception for the women, but I mean, like, also though, that would be such a small percentage being the attractive ones. So anyways, moving on. But yeah, so but when we're talking about the billionaires, it's very easy to get rid of them, because what do? Stop allowing the government, outlaw the government funding companies. There you go. Amazon and a whole bunch of these companies, they make a lot of their money through the government, through lobbying and all kinds of things. So if you shut these things down, these guys, they're going to have to downsize massively. And they're going to have to change their corporate structure as well.
Why people ask questions like that. Because it's so fucking annoying. I don't care. I mean, if somebody's trans, they look like a woman, I'll say they're a woman. Guys, sorry. Like, I'm not going to confuse people. I don't give a fuck. It's not a big deal to me. So anyway, if I saw that, I saw pictures of her, she looks like a woman. Okay?
Yeah.
Sorry, you're going to get confused, you're going to get mad about it. I don't want to fucking argue with you guys about this. We talked about it twice before, and people are like trying to correct me. I don't give a shit, okay? I don't care. Like, I really mean that. I do not care. Anyway.
Well, not yet. You're a cock, so eventually you will.
Point is irrelevant.
Especially if you get a girlfriend who may or may not be attractive, and knowing most dudes, they get with chicks are absolutely butt ugly. So unless you get with a chick, then Asmon, you're going to start sitting there and being like, I stand with the LGB whatever mafia. I love them so much. And what is that thing? Oh, okay. That's a man. Oh no, it's a woman now. Okay. It's a woman.
Saying is that I think there's a growing frustration that people that are the captains of these ships, instead of riding their ship to the bottom of the ocean, the captain goes down with the ship.
Yeah.
The captain's the first one off the ship, and then all the sailors are at the bottom of the fucking ocean.
Yeah.
And that's what happens. And so you have people that are in these leadership roles that get, I mean, there's a term for it, it's golden parachute, that they get a golden parachute away from this position they have.
Yeah.
And now they don't have to worry about it at all.
Yep, that's
If
true.
I just take responsibility for garbage. Yeah, exactly. It's very annoying. The Concordia, yes. The captain didn't abandon ship. Yeah, and he roached out. The captain roached out like crazy, instantaneously. He was gone.
I think it's just coincidence. Like, Corinne Bush leaves BioWare, and then a few days later, this report comes out that Veilguard was such a financial flop. Of course, there's also a lot of speculation that Bush was kind of forced out over this whole disaster too, but maybe
It's also a very good point.
Probably a lot of internal conflict after the failure of Veilguard and how much people just trashed on it. Yeah. Yeah.
She probably got kicked out. And, they announced, oh, yeah, I'm leaving. Yes, you're leaving because we're kicking you out.
all that speculation, or what you will. All right, with that context, that takes us back over to the subreddit for Dragon Age: The Veilguard, and this recent top post over there from only 17 hours ago that reads, the reason why Veilguard didn't sell well. Once again from the top, unpopular opinion, but I think Veilguard's reputation just got damaged by the anti-woke crowd even before the game came out.
Yep.
If you go to YouTube and search for Veilguard, you'll see vast majority of the content.
Let's find out about that. We're going to open up
Drama queens. Man, they always have the virtue signal on people. Oh, it's drama queens. It's not that it's a bad game and people are trashing on it and having fun. It's that everyone's a drama queen. Man, like, you don't know how to laugh, so you call everyone a drama queen. No, you are the drama queens because you want your entire identity, which is complete dog water horse filth. You want that to be recognized and you want people to celebrate and worship the absolute satanic degeneracy that you are. But you're right, everyone's a drama queen when you're a Satanist.
an incognito window. Dragon Age: The Veilguard. Okay, I'm not sure about this one. Bad, 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 bad.
Where's my review? Where's my review should totally be in there because it's the best review ever made. Actually, better than a lot of these other people. Yeah, actually. But
Bad.
anyway,
Okay. Yeah, that matters.
what the frick?
If you look a game up on YouTube and all the top results are the game being bad, that doesn't look very good. You just say you didn't know about game ranks? What I mean is I didn't watch it. I didn't watch that.
And that is what YouTube promotes as well. Like, YouTube makes sure that certain people are preferred over others. So the fact that those guys are also saying it's bad, the shills, and that's what they are. Even the fact that the shills are not happy with it, that's a pretty big deal.
That video, and so I don't know what they said. We didn't even get credit as an army of chuds. Well, I mean, there's a lot of people.
Created for this game is by drama queens who farm hate from every progressive media.
Yes.
Wow, that is
Good. Screw you.
some very politically obsessed phrasing right there.
It's true. They're right. The amount of negative videos and negative press that people put out about the game absolutely damaged the game. That's why people put out the negative media and the negative press.
The only reason they say hate is so that people are afraid to speak their mind. And it's not because people are afraid to say what they think, but because you want to censor them. And because you want to threaten censorship on these people, you say that they are hate. You say so that you can associate it with hate speech, so that then you can try to make it a law that you shouldn't speak hate speech. And if you can't make it a law, then you can make it a guideline. If you can't make it a guideline, then you take matters into your own hands. Whatever it is, who cares? But regardless, you're a piece of trash queer. No one cares about you. Yes, people absolutely hate you and you deserve it. Screw you and screw your existence. You suck. It's that simple. It's that simple. And you can't keep on threatening people and their First Amendment right to freely speak their mind when you're a piece of filth trash. And these people, again, they have a right to hate you and screw you, by the way. F yourself.
That was the goal. Mission accomplished. Duh.
It's pretty telling that they don't even view Veilguard first and foremost as a video game. No, what they view it as first, like the first thing about it, oh, this is
Progressive
just
media.
progressive media.
It's a movement.
Their Veilguard videos are getting the most views and likes. When a potential customer sees this negative environment online, their first thought would be, maybe this game isn't worth buying.
Absolutely.
That's how a liberal thinks, though. Oh, this is what other people are saying. I guess I won't pick it up.
Absolutely. Like, I think that people really downplay the effect that, for example, seeing a video game trailer and then reading the comments and every comment being negative has. It's insanely bad.
But all of that can be engineered, and people can trash on something that's good. Listen, man, before everyone got on the anti-woke train, people were trashing on games for being non-woke. right? It's like, oh, that woman's so sexualized. Oh, that's so wrong and evil. People can jump on any bandwagon. It doesn't make it correct. By the way, call me, Rachel from Ninja Gaiden. What's up? You're freaking hot.
Like, yeah, that's the point of watching a review video. Yes, exactly. Like, it's insane.
Yeah, so that's a good thing.
The non-binary,
Why would you
yeah.
want potential customers to waste their money on a game they probably won't even enjoy? Some like AAA, HR in the room, modern audience slop. It's hilarious how they're praising this as if the critics.
Well, when you see these hobgoblin creatures, you fully understand why they say and they think what they say and believe.
To Veilguard are in the wrong when in reality they're just making us all sound based. I especially love how
It doesn't matter whether somebody is wrong or not.
Nobody cares about what these people think and say. They only care about whether or not they have the power to silence other people. That's the only thing people care about. And for a while, by the way, they were silencing people. Right now, I think that's supposed to change. I mean, Trump did the executive order for free speech, but right now, I don't know if I see a change on platforms reinstating for the sake of freedom of speech. It better happen. It better freaking happen. I mean, he signed in an executive order, but I don't know. And also it's an amendment, but whatever it is, these companies, they need to get their freaking butts handed to them. And I mean, they need to get freaking grilled into the freaking pits of hell for what they've done against the First Amendment. These are pieces of filth, criminals, and they should be tried for freaking silencing Americans. Absolutely. Screw these pieces of filth. Each and every single one of them deserves to be imprisoned for silencing Americans and facilitating the silencing of Americans. And that includes the politicians. There's not that truly many, but for the ones who did pressure these companies, they should also be imprisoned. They overstepped the First Amendment. That is absolute. That should be punishable by death, for freaking crying out loud. But anyways, at the very least, prison. Screw these pieces of filth. Silencing Americans. And then these freaking retard queers who run around trying to silence everybody. And they should also be tried. Absolutely. For trying to start these cancel campaigns against so many people. They should also be sent into prison for doing that.
It matters whether somebody's message is getting put out there and people are agreeing with it or not. People get too fixated on the moral authority of whatever perspective they have, and it causes them to lose sight of reality and make decisions that are not based on anything other than their feelings. And that's why they fail, because they're making decisions for what they want things to be rather than what they are.
They're trying to act like they're some like progressive individual.
But things can also be a way. I mean, things, for instance, women used to actually like men, and they used to not complain about men touching them. But now, because of feminism, women complain all the time that men touched them, even when men did not touch them. They'll make it up. So we do have things that should be a certain way, because the framing of what things should be can enforce how the next generation believes that it should conduct itself. So when you sit there and say that things should be censored, then people start sitting there saying that things should be censored. So there is a point where things are not just as they are, but how they have been constructed to be. And you can frame things up to be a certain way. Now, there are things that just are, right? You can't remove the fact that men just want to look at breasts and they want to look at a thigh gap and they want to look at women that are within a normal BMI and they're not overweight, obese, or just extra fat on the body. Men want to look at curvaceous, attractive, virginic women. That's what they want to look at. You can't remove that from men. Even the leftist cucks, they will find a way to do it behind their obese girlfriend's back, okay? So regardless, you can't remove reality, yes. But also on top of that, there are things that you can frame, and you can socially engineer people to think that certain positions are normal and correct. Like, for instance, feminism. Asmin, you're a raging feminist cock. You can convince a bunch of dudes to stand up for feminism, even when it supports their own disillusion and their own death.
And yet the reality of what they're explaining here is that gamers have caused a massive corrupt corporation to lose a bunch of money. And they're upset at that. These sort of people always LARP as if they're like revolutionaries. They're the biggest corpo defenders out there. They also never seem to realize that. It's a complete lack of self-awareness. And
I think that they don't realize they're not corpo defenders. I don't agree that they're corpo defenders. I think that they do have this ideology, but they don't realize that the corpo is doing it because they have the ideology and not because the corpo cares about the ideology. The same corporation.
It doesn't matter. They're defending corporations because the corporations happen to be riding the wave of their political sentiment. And these corporations have also hired activists
that are talking about how much they care about diversity are now destroying their diversity groups and then firing every single person in the department. So if they really cared about it, then they probably wouldn't have deleted it the moment that the the culture shift happened. It's very clearly not what's happening. Yeah, right. It's matching ideologies. Yeah, well, like these ideologies that these companies have, these companies are effectively parasites that latch themselves onto different types of cultures that are happening and cultural movements that are happening, and then they use them in order to push an agenda. And they do
No, no. They can happen to function that way, but the government literally funded many of these companies and enforced this DEI nonsense through ESG. This was something being facilitated by the government after Obama, during Obama, his second term, and after Obama, his second term. You really started to see this crap, absolutely. And they were hiring for these people and firing and canceling people who did not arrive to the ideological presuppositions of a left-wing view on things. So, no, this is something that was facilitated by these companies because of the people they hired and the people that they fired. Even despite how good of a job they did, does not matter. On top of that, there's a reason, by the way, why they got rid of Paul Dini after Arkham City and why you felt like the writing was different in Arkham Knight, right? A video that I will be coming out with that eventually. Not right now, but whatever. So, yeah, though. I mean, it's really hard because it's like these companies are leeches. They might function that way based on survival, sure, but it's like, and they don't really stand for anything, and that is a problem. But at the same time, there's also the issue of the government and the fact that through DEI, they were enforcing all this nonsense and hiring the activists. And that doesn't remove any responsibility, but there's more going on than just they're leeches.
do this with memes too. You guys know, like every time there's like a brand account and there's a popular meme, and brand accounts try to like take advantage of the meme, and like 90% of the time it's cringe. They're just parasites. That's all. It's that simple. And
You're cringe, exactly like bro. I don't even mean to say this. But it's like, seriously, there's so many people. Like Asmon is cringe himself during certain moments. Like you can paint anything. So I get what he's saying, and I can respect it for what it is. But come on, like. I mean, again, anyone's cringe, especially when you don't believe what it is they say, then you think it's cringe. There are things that are objectively cringe, and then there's just things that you personally don't like.
They take from the host, and anything that the host gets out of the parasite is purely incidental and never by design.
The post, they say, people always say stuff like this doesn't affect sales much, but I really do think it's having an effect, especially in recent years, where hating on progressive games, movies, and TV shows has become such a popular thing to do. Like I basically
because
said
it's
earlier,
trash.
it's a
Well, if it's a really popular thing to do, you should ask yourself the question: why are you making media that's supposed to be popular in an audience that doesn't reflect that view?
Where they see a corporation pandering to their political views, and then they're instantly compelled to eat that slop right up, no matter how terrible the underlying media itself is.
I think this is also another big issue that people have, and I think it's something that the right wing does a bad job with, but I think the left wing probably does worse of a job with, is that they're not able to rein in extremists and rein in people that are like...
Oh my gosh. Rein in extremists. For one, you're believing that the traditionalists even have extremists. That shows the problem with you. The fact that conventional traditionalists are extremists? No, stop that. A man and a woman should be together. Oh, breasts are super nice to look at, especially for dudes. Oh, that's extreme. Oh, these guys. What's next? What's next? My country should be filled with my people and my race of people. Is that, that's also extreme? Love of God. Or what's next? We should deport people that do not belong in the country, especially the illegals. Is that extreme? We should give the death penalty to criminals who commit heinous crimes upon society. Is that also extreme? I'm sorry, where's the extremity? Women should not work jobs and they should be in the kitchen. Is that extreme? I mean, like, come on, man. How much are we making up here? No. You know who's actually extreme? These leftists who say that men and men should be having sex, women and women should be getting together. You should be allowing your country to be replaced by another ethnicity and another demographic from another country, which is totally not an invasion, by the way, just totally normal. You should support gender transitioning. You should support that those who work should have their money taken from them at gunpoint by the government, and then that money should be distributed to those who do not work or do not deserve the funds, which means that they're lazy or something else. They're not redemptive within the economy. So your money should be taken from you and given to people who nobody wants to give money to. That's really what it is. Is that extreme? I'm sorry. Tell me where the extremity begins. Or is it just that your sensitivities are with more leftist beliefs, and then you think that anyone that actually stands on traditional values, which by the way, those are always the values all throughout history, the longest case study in all of civilization is history. All throughout history, traditionalism has always sustained civilization. Doesn't matter if you don't like the way it looks, it's the way it plays. All right? So yeah, sustaining your nation includes maintaining racial homogeny, and you were engineered and wired by propaganda to believe that that is false and incorrect, even though that is painfully true. You will lose America, and right now America's almost dead, let's just face it, but you will properly lose America the more and more it becomes less and less American, which is what? White, Caucasian, Anglo-Saxon, European. That when you lose that, you lose America, and then you won't want to live in America, and then you will want to live in whatever country is not a diversity hellpot stinkhole filled with minorities. Okay? It's just that simple. So you're telling me that right-wingers are somehow extremists, and let's be very clear about this too. You're also treating them as if they're collectivists. Right-wingers, they infight more than leftists. And why is that? Because they are actual individualists. They stand on their own principle, whether they're right or wrong. And, you know, they don't try to be incorrect, but they actually stand for principle. So they will disagree with themselves, each other, and the left. The left, they're freaking retards who believe in groupthink. So there is no reining in people who don't want to be a freaking collective. And that's what right-wingers are. They don't want to be a collective. Yeah, they're a loose collective, but they're a loose collective. You don't rein in. That's the point of it. That's why freedom of speech is a conservative belief, because you are allowed, you have the freedom to be an outsider to the in-group and to do so willingly. I mean, geez, man, myself personally, I've written off the freaking right because it's like you guys are a bunch of freaking neoliberal cocks. You literally say and believe a lot of the things that liberals think and believe. You're less militant about it. That's it. Whatever. You're still a freaking feminist. You're still a multiculturalist. Screw you. Love of God, man. It's like, oh, I mean, again, Asmongold's idea of being a right-winger is basically being a neoliberal, which again just means being a less militant leftist. That's all it means. This guy's a freaking leftist, by the way. Do not forget that. He is for people getting silenced. I've already addressed this in a previous video. I'm not going to go into the context. But he's okay with people getting silenced as long as you're against stuff like feminism, multiculturalism, whatever. He has no sympathies for people who get silenced. So whatever, man. Oh my gosh. Of course, to a guy that's a freaking leftist adjacent, he has no sympathies with anyone that's right-wing, and he believes that they are extremists because his idea of conservative is a centrist.
Just like kind of crazy,
that's all I'm going to say.
basically. And I think that like not being able to self-regulate causes yourself to...
There is no self-regulation on the right. You want to know what the regulation is for both the left and the right? According to a right-winger, you send criminals to prison. Actual criminals, not made-up crime criminals. That's how you regulate people. Oh, you stole from somebody, prison or death penalty. Oh, you killed someone, again, prison or death penalty. That's how you regulate on the right. You put people through the legal system for legitimate crimes, not because of wrong think. Love of God, man. Jeez, you don't even understand. And people say this mother effer is a right winger. What the frick is wrong with you? Being right wing means that you support freedom of speech. Supporting freedom of speech means you support outsiders to your ideas and your beliefs.
Get an increasingly more like extreme version of like whatever your movement is until it no longer represents enough people to be meaningful.
Whatever. Dude, most people used to be racist, openly racist, against, again, like in America, people used to support, women. Geez, women used to be completely against the blacks being seen as equal to whites. Okay? Love of God. Love of God. So you tell me what the freaking collective is. You tell me what people largely agree with. Because these things can be shifted, especially by propaganda in the optics, whether or not it's correct. One more time.
Increasingly more like extreme version of like whatever your movement is until it no longer represents enough people to be meaningful.
You understand a bunch of people supported the 1930s Germany guys? A ton of people supported them. It was a massive populist movement. Understand, Asman, you were the minority. And in fact, probably the problem, standing against 1930s Germany. It's so funny because guys like Asman, they love to throw around the idea that we are the majority and that you are the extremists and that you become so extreme that nobody wants to be on your political side. And he says this with the entire belief and idea that his politics are the desirable politics, when in reality, a bunch of people actually disagree with you and you just want to believe through hubris that you represent the historical majority. One more time, a bunch of Americans, they used to be very racist, which was a good thing, by the way. Sexist, which was a good thing, by the way. They used to be very traditional and pro-America and pro, let us sustain what America is. That's what they used to be. And there was good reason for it until propaganda wired them differently. But then also, naturally, Germans, they joined with the 1930s Germany guys. There was already a left and a right-wing party, and they were so disenfranchised that they started quickly funneling into the 1930s Germany guys for good reason. So the majority is not who you think it is, Asman. And the extremists are not who you think it is. And sometimes, actually, it's the made up middle. Those are the problems of society. And they might not be extreme, but they simply don't do anybody any favors. There can be a lot more harm done by being non-extreme. Besides, though, being an actual traditionalist is not extreme. It's just that this is what a corrosive leech centrist wants to have you believe, is that being a true and proper traditionalist is somehow wrong and corrosive to your civilization.
So the OP reading, not an unpopular opinion on this sub.
And that apparently no one's going to side with you either, by the way. Because you're so extreme, you decide that you believe that your civilization should be sustained for what it is. Your religion, your culture, the race of your people. That makes you extreme, that nobody wants to be a part of you. Just stop. No, you want to know what's extreme? The left has always been extreme. And why do we know this? I mean, okay, for a bunch of rhetorical reasons. But also, we know this because their beliefs have always destroyed civilization as old as the Bible. Enough.
More so on the main Dragon Age sub. Quick side note, because I know we interrupted this whole post thing quite a lot, but the
Main DA sub has been infected with bigots for months now. You guys censor everyone that is a bigot. And by the way, people have the right to be a bigot, but that's the problem. It's been infected. So what does that mean? We got to censor them out. They already do. By the way, they've already done a bunch of censoring. So it's just, more people that we don't like. Censor. golly, man, leftists, Marxists, absolute filth.
The OP did have that introduction where they said unpopular opinion, right? So that's what they're referring to there. Continuing.
It's not an unpopular opinion. It's an inconvenient opinion. Everybody knows it's true, but people don't want it to be.
It's true.
This person says, and I agree with you, the clicks culture on YouTube is a pervasive rot. Top response to that saying, main Dragon Age sub has been infected with bigots for months now. And then this response says, wish the mods there would remove any post that remotely has bigoted dog whistles.
There you go.
Seriously, bro.
Dog whistles. They love that term. How about you with your homosexual dog whistles? How about we actively root you out for being a homosexual shill? How about that? How about we start making up that you are a dog whistle and we silence you? You never hear this coming from right-wingers. Leftists love their freaking games and they love their bells and whistles until the game no longer plays in their favor. They love to silence people because no one talks about silencing them. But how about we play fire with fire because you want to play with fire? How about we do it? How about we go out of our way and we start silencing you for being the piece of filth that you are? How about the fact that you are a satanic, homosexual drama queen and we silence you for that notion? How about that?
Sometimes people in the comments ask why I read comments like this in the voice that I do, and I just read them because I think they sound like.
Why? Because they're retards and homosexual queers and they're complete loser. By the way, they are the bigots, by the way. Freaking clowns.
These people sound so whiny and weird to me, so it's just naturally that's the voice I kind of speak in when I read their comments. And
I mean, a lot of the people, like, the thing is, like, Reddit has become such a, like, it's like the mental health marketplace.
Yes.
Like, I see so many people that are just so unhinged on that website now. And I feel like it's just getting worse and worse and worse. Like, I'll read comments and it won't even be about, like, streaming. It'll just be about, like, different conversations. And people are just so weird. I don't understand.
Because you enabled a platform of hall monitors. This is a platform of policing. It is a police state to enforce their community. And this is why I hate communities. It always becomes a police state. No, these are just people who come onto a forum to share their thoughts on a thread. And either they agree or disagree with you, and either people side with one side more than the other side. But what they did, they disbanded and they silenced, they censored, and they banned people who supported Donald Trump, people who supported women with nice looking breasts, you know, traditional conservative guys. They got rid of them. They removed everybody that did not abide with their ethics, with the police state. That's why it's such a cesspit of morons and losers clutching their pearls about everything, because it is a platform for hall monitors.
Like how it happened, but it's just like, I feel like that's what happens when you just kind of like increasingly, it's like you have like a culture of censorship and
Police
increasingly
state.
more self-radicalization
Police
that happens over
state.
time. And then after 10 years, you become Reddit. I think that's what happened because X is so normal and now get real. Well, the difference with X is that there's like a balance of opinions. So like, yeah, there's unhinged people on X.
They're not unhinged, according to you, because of your sensitivities. They're not unhinged. Because if you actually listen to their arguments, now leftists, they are unhinged. They don't have any rhetoric. But for right-wingers that you call unhinged, no, listen to their arguments. There's a very explicit reason why they think and say what they think and believe. They're not unhinged. They're actually quite informed. And actually, you are unhinged for not thinking and believing what they think and believe, because they happen to be correct. You happen to be wrong. You happen to be supporting something that will destroy and defeat you. And you are sitting there no matter what, and you stand by it, like feminism and all the other things. Multiculturalism, the whole 9 yards. You call them unhinged because they're not playing your game. That's why you say that. But again, they actually have rhetorical reason for what they think and believe. You just don't want to play their game. Or really, you don't want to even observe their game. You just want to throw stones over a wall.
But I feel like on Reddit, the difference is that it's curated. So you would naturally expect to see on an uncurated website that a ton of people would be.
Sadly, even X is curated. Elon has gone out of his way to just silence people. Literally, Asman, unless this is no longer true, but I think this is true, he got his blue check mark taken from him because of him talking about and also disagreeing with and spatting back at Elon, their whole engagement with each other. Elon took away his blue check mark.
unhinged.
So come on,
but
man.
on Reddit, I feel like it's everywhere.
Doesn't help that I'm also just
No, I mean, listen, on X, there's just more people allowed to actually speak for themselves, even though there's still a lot of censorship going on there. And it's not extremists. These people are not criminals. No, they just want to have a safe and proper civilization of their own people. That's it. That's not extreme. You are extreme for saying that the people who want to sustain their country are extreme. That makes you extreme. These people want to sustain what they are. You want to change it. You are extreme.
laughing a lot of the time when I read this stuff too. I mean, these people are ridiculous. So let me try this again. It says, wish the mods there would remove any post that remotely has bigoted dog whistles. The Avowed sub has done a good job with that, so the Dragon Age sub shouldn't have much trouble doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Whatever.
Man. Literally advocating for the other subs to be censored the same way the Veilguard sub is and the Avowed sub.
Well, that's what they want, right? Because
And they wonder why they're losing. They wonder why nobody wants to be a part of their treehouse. For one, you're degenerate homosexual demons. But then outside of that, when people push back onto you, you ban them and you silence them. It's like, well, there you go. You just lost normal functioning society. So now you're on an island with the rest of your freaking degenerates. Good for you.
this is
You get what you deserve. And that's why your game failed. Because normative society is not filled with degenerate freaks. Now, there is problem because of all this inundated propaganda for multiple generations now. It has wired many men and women to be feminists and multiculturalists, the whole thing. Okay. But regardless, people used to be very normal, and the majority is still normal. That is fleeting by the year, but regardless, most people are still normal and normative, and not a bunch of demoralized homosexual cock demons.
and I think it goes to show, right, is that these are people that they know that if this type of thinking gets out and people start feeling this way.
You know, I used to kind of think in this way, not too much, but a little bit, with certain topics. And here's something to realize. If you're afraid of certain people being allowed to think and say what they believe, because that's going to get the word out and then that's going to popularize a certain sentiment, perhaps then you are wrong, or perhaps you're not properly thinking out your position. The fact that if someone is allowed to think and speak their mind makes it more popular, so therefore you have to censor it, then perhaps there is a fallacy to your own thinking, the fact that you have to censor in the first place. Now again, the issue with the left is that it's filled with a bunch of propagandists who cannot accept that they're wrong. And they will fight you tooth and nail to continue being wrong. The left, again, they have confirmed this many times. They will make up allegations onto people like Donald Trump, like Brett Kavanaugh, and they will believe their lies to this day. We're not talking about those people. We're talking about normal people. When you find that people have a legitimate reason to disagree with you, again, they have a rhetorical reason. They could be wrong, they could be correct. But you find yourself censoring people instead of engaging with them when they have legitimate thoughts, legitimate complaints, and you find yourself censoring them, then yes, that shows that there's a fallacy to your way of thinking. Now again, leftists should actually be censored. And why? Because they spread actual misinformation. They will say that certain men are rapists when they're not. They will sit there and make up claims about people that are blatantly wrong. And they want things to be done about people because of their incorrect information. They want to create hate wagons and hate campaigns to destroy people's lives. For that reason, yes, these people should absolutely be censored. They want to create havoc onto society through their active misinformation. And they're allowed, by the way, they're allowed to say what they want to think and say. But the problem becomes when, no matter how much you are proven false, you want to continue lying to the public. At some point, defamation should absolutely be punished. Absolutely.
People will turn against it. And I think that that's probably the big reason why, like, it's one of the big reasons why I think it's very damaging when you just delete everybody else's opinion.
Yes.
And, like, I mean, I think it's very fair to delete opinions that are, like, hostile or, you know, like, openly, like, you know, like...
Okay, if someone's trying to be a criminal, that's different from someone having an opinion. Enough is enough with this. Yes, criminals are the outlier. Yes, we know what criminals are. Sending threats, and because when they send the threat, they intend to mean it. Okay, well, you should be treated as a criminal then. What the frick? Yes, criminals are different from law-abiding citizens. We are talking about non-criminals here. Let's be clear about that. We're talking about people, no matter how much they make you feel bad, they're not criminal. Enough.
I don't know, like using racial slurs or something like that. Sure, yeah, of course.
That is not criminal. And people say this guy is freaking right-wing. Love of God. You have to be a freaking retard to think that he's right-wing. He is pro-censorship. Freaking A. I've said this many times. Oh, you can't say racial slurs. Oh, shut up, you freaking F slur. Love of God. Jeez Louise, man. When you allow freedom of speech, by the way, people actually don't say slurs that much. It's when you censor people, they want to say slurs more. Enough with this idea that you have to censor people who are law-abiding citizens. Sure, I don't care about criminals. You can censor them all day, I don't care. But when you are going to censor law-abiding citizens, people who contribute to the economy, there's nothing wrong with them. They just say things you don't like. You are the problem.
Of course. But like whenever you're talking about just like people that are trying to have a conversation about something and you're deleting conversations
Which could mean that they will say slurs. There's a lot of people, their form of communication is to say a slur every once in a while. I've had friends like that where they've called me the N-word as a joke, but whatever. Whatever, bro. Enough with this. This idea of censoring people. Enough.
about it and people can't talk about that? Well, I think that usually there's a reason for it. Can we get back to this idea that you think Twitter has both sides? Yeah, sure. The reason why I think that is because of every observable metric possible, and also my own personal experience, not to mention CNN's viewpoint on it as well. CNN did data on it, and they said that Twitter actually was one of the most balanced platforms. And also it depends on what, it also depends on who you interact with, right?
Barely.
So, like, some people are going to get a different experience with Twitter than others.
And they're like applauding that. For the record, obviously, what this person is referring to as a bigoted dog whistle is things as simple as like criticizing BioWare in this context,
Yeah.
or
Yes.
criticizing Tosh. Like, if you were to say you think Tosh is not written well, they would refer to you as an instant bigot.
Well, no, and then they also mean that being a Christian is a dog whistle, a bigoted, hateful dog whistle. Because yes, individuals like Tosh are absolute despicable filth that defy God, and that is evil, is satanic, and is absolutely wrong. And within a proper society, there's a punishment for that. But you're saying that that is a hateful, bigoted dog whistle. That means these people are extreme when they're following their beliefs, the beliefs actually of your nation, of your country, of your constitution. And this is why they don't believe in the Constitution. They stand by the Bible, and that makes them extreme.
They would want you banned from the subreddits. You know how it is. And then
I love it whenever blatant extremists call the people that they go extreme against, they call those people extremists.
there's this top post from today, from only 2 hours ago, that says, addressing the anti-woke crowd. I wondered if they realize how much their indiscriminate negativity and dogpiling lessens their power.
Yeah, good. Yeah, it should be indiscriminate and it should be negative. Good.
Consumers. I love how one of the top posts blames a
What does it say?
Lessons, the wrong lessons, but okay, lessons. Whatever. Just shut up.
Lesson.
Veilguard replace it.
Veilguard could have launched with an all-white, all-straight male cast, and it would still have problems. Well, but the cast would not be the problem anymore. No, shut it. The people they hired made the game as it was. They hired a bunch of freaking DEI people. If it was all white, all straight male cast, that would mean there were sexy women in the game as well. That's what it would mean. It would mean it would be a completely different game, a game that everyone would want to buy. And it would have good gameplay because we've had all white, all straight before. And people actually liked the game and the franchise. That's why it was a franchise to begin with. So no, you're still wrong. You still lose. You're making up an argument because you want to believe that being a degenerate, a piece of filth, demonic piece of trash makes you right and equal to the people who are normal.
Filing lessens their power as consumers. It incredibly increases it. It massively increases it. The thing is that every single time that a game like this fails after a huge amount of negative controversy, it terrifies every other company into not wanting to attract that negative controversy. And you're seeing that across all media.
Good.
Like, for example, like Disney getting rid of like that, I think it was Pixar, maybe, I don't remember exactly, like getting rid of like some trans scene. They're terrified of it.
Good.
Because it's like, I mean, really, like, I mean, it's effectively marketing that's like bad marketing. They're terrified of you coming to games. Well, yeah. I mean, do you mean lessons? Yeah, lesson. Like, well, what they mean to say is it lowers their power. Not like it teaches them a lesson about their power. And terrifying is the same tactic that SBI uses.
Tied,
yeah,
bro.
exactly. It is. And so, no, I think that these companies are really afraid of it. And I think that becomes very evident that they try to hide these different types of features until the game comes out. And I think that you're probably going to see games that are effectively using the fact that they're not using different types of like woke type of content. They're probably going to start using it as advertising. And I think a great example of that is Lords of the Fallen recently, is that they did a thing where they were like, yeah, we're going to revert back to male and female instead of body type 1 and 2. Like, you have to keep in mind that every single thing that a brand does is in some way or another a form of marketing. They're doing that because they think that will get people to play their game more. So it's working. They're terrified to lose money? Yeah, exactly. They don't want to lose money.
Into their power as consumers. I love how one of the top posts blames the quote-unquote anti-woke crowd for ruining Veilguard's reputation and causing it low sales or whatever. And then this one's like, the anti-woke crowd are losing their power as consumers. Veilguard could have launched with an all-white, all-straight male cast and it would still have problems. Veilguard could replace its entire team with straight white men and it would still have problems.
That's true.
What a weird straw man. Like, who's even asking for that? People are simply critiquing the game for very valid reasons. For example, you can go over to Steam and take a look at
It
the
is a
long
straw
list of negative
man.
reviews from people who did buy the game and didn't like it.
The issue is, though, is that their straw man still proves them incorrect because you would have gotten a different game. And actually, you would have gotten the type of game that we've gotten in the past that people actually enjoyed and liked and wanted to play. So you're wrong. You have a straw man, and also your straw man, if correct, is actually what would have made the company money, and it would have sold, you know, it would have been game of the year. It would have been game of the year. Yes, if it was all white, straight men, it would have been game of the year. But instead, you screwed yourself over, and so this is where we're at.
Where there's all sorts of different criticisms. For example, this negative review in part says, this game forces me to be the therapist of a cast of characters that are unlikable adult 80s, who feel like they came from a Disney movie in the worst way possible. Or this one, for example, that says romances are laughable in this game. BioWare was once so known for writing good RPG romances that I genuinely struggle to believe these romances are from the same company. Or this one that in part says, I cannot in good conscience recommend this game to anyone, especially not Dragon Age or even BioWare fans. I'm shocked that the most prevalent criticism of Veilguard is not the abandonment of the world state import. And the reason I keep saying in part while I read these sections of these reviews is because these people wrote like mini essays.
Of course,
in other words, I'm reading a tiny fraction.
Yeah, no, like the Veilguard, the Veilguard, like the subreddit looked like a bunch of twit-longers. As soon as this information dropped, everybody was writing out these massive essays explaining why the game was a complete failure.
Of these full negative reviews. And these people have extremely well thought out and very detailed explanations for why they don't like the game. This is a recurring.
This is the issue with the left. They never have rhetoric to their position. They have to call you racist, they have to call you Nazi, they have to call you sexist, and they have to call you bigot. And on top of that, rapist. If all of that doesn't work, then you support slavery, you support genocider, acting like that's even just objectively wrong, which that's a whole other conversation. Anyway, both of those, by the way. But this is where they try to virtue signal and virtue smuggle, more specifically, their entire argument. Because they don't actually have reasons to their ideas and their beliefs. It's every time. And if they do have reasons, it's going to be logical fallacy. And it's only because you allow them to weaponize logical fallacy as a working argument, because you're allowing their premise to function. And because you allow their premise to function, then that means they own the frame, the starting frame of a conversation, which if you're already starting on a back foot as a right-winger, allowing a leftist to have their premise, then they can have their cake, eat it too as they go to their conclusion, which means you're probably going to lose by the end. It's always the right wing that actually has rhetoric behind their positions because they actually abide within common sense, which is just common rhetoric, reason, and also the truth, reality.
Theme on a lot of the negative reviews for Veilguard, and once again, you can find us all over on Steam. And one thing they're not all crying about is, oh, we just wanted the game to have all straight white male characters. So once again, the shills for this game are acting extremely rotted and just really weird. Really weird. It doesn't.
I think that there's absolutely a factor of identity politics that goes into this, and I don't think it should be overstated or understated, but it should be acknowledged that, yes, I do.
Americana was good when it was all white men and women.
I think that is That's present. It definitely is present. But he's right that even
These are a bunch of people that want to replace what America and European looks like and what it means.
if Dragon Age didn't have any of these problems, the game would still be bad. It has some effect. Yeah, it does. Companies are still, we're reaching a glass roof. Companies are slowly realizing the audience that was sold as a gigantic by Motis is actually just a small portion of real world people. I hope they'll continue this way. Yeah.
No, leftist ideology took over America like a wildstorm. Mostly because of propaganda through the education system. That's number one. And I mean massive propaganda. So the power structures of the time was designing this catastrophe, creating these foot soldiers of leftist ideology. But on top of that, you know, the universities and schools are losing power because information is becoming global. And we haven't yet transitioned to a global information market yet, but the more that happens is the more that the universities fail and the schools fail. They already don't do their job. They don't educate. So you're going to have someone else that's going to do the educating. It's that simple. And once people can actually have some more sovereignty over their life, they will not be leftists again. Now, we do have a lot of problems though. I mean, listen, the European Union and America are turning into third world nations as we speak. And a lot of people, they're not having it, bro. So there's going to be a racial fallout in both civilizations. The European Union is going to blow up before America. I swear on that. And eventually they're going to absolutely say, we don't care what the frick these people are. If they're not European, if they're not Anglo-Saxon, they're out of this country. That's what will be said at some point. That's the only way. You have to have a complete hard reset where you only have white people in white countries again. And the same thing is coming for America. I mean, Americans, bro, love of God. Like, you can just tell. Nobody's happy with the state of America. Even leftists, but leftists, it's for, you know, like they don't like how things are, but they still want to keep on administering the disease. Regardless, though, America's on its way. At some point, it's going to have a racial fallout because people are going to be sick and tired that within a white country, you brought in a bunch of brown people, and these brown people are turning your country into a third world stinkhole. Eventually, everyone's going to have enough. There's going to be a hard reset, a Tower of Babel. It's going to happen. There's no way to avoid it. And it's the way it should be. Why is it that white countries should not be white? Why is that? The colored countries, they have their countries. So what the frick?
I think that's what's going to happen too. Do you think this is the fault of the hands-off approach? I think it's the fault of people that push ideologies that can't be criticized publicly. So it creates a culture of toxic positivity where nobody wants to be the person in the room that says, let's not add the scene about being non-binary, because that's going to cause people to, like, I think a really good example of this is like, if you look at the way that I've covered the election and like the way that I've covered different political and social events, and now I'm being maligned as a Nazi. Well, do you think that's good or bad?
And he's a freaking neoliberal, bro. It's crazy that, but again, like the left, they censor everyone so much that even the people on their side, they will label these terms and definitions that they believe are extreme. And they only do that, by the way, because they don't have an argument. And on top of that, so that they can justify violence, even though they're in the wrong. They don't even know who the 1930s Germany, just screw it. They don't even know who the Nazis are. They don't even know. They don't have a good idea of who they are, but they would hate them even if they did. Because the Nazis, they wanted men and women to be conventional and traditional. Everything that a woman wants a man to be is what they wanted men to be. And everything that a man wants a woman to be is what they wanted women to be. They wanted a very normative society just for Germans. They didn't want their country replaced by certain demographics. Very simple stuff. And they were labeled as extremists by a certain group of people who happened to be undermining America right now.
That's bad. And so for me, it doesn't really matter because what's going to happen, right? There's going to be somebody comes in a chat and they're like, oh, I can't believe you said they disbanded. It doesn't matter. But if you work in a company and you're being treated this way, well, there's a really good chance that you're going to lose your job. And so the difference is that these people, they don't have.
And that's the problem. There should be no political enforcement. Somebody should be allowed to be a blatant Nazi and work in any company unless they are disrupting the peace, right? Which means making threats and like just disturbing people like outright, which means that you're being a nuisance, you're being a delinquent. But that is apolitical behavior. But again, you absolutely have the right to think and believe whatever you believe and still have your job. It's as long as you're being sensible about it. And it doesn't mean being sensible does not mean that you agree with people or you're being a centrist. It just means that you're not disrupting peace, which is very easy to do. And most people who are not criminals, that's what they do. But right now, what people want to censor on is wrong think. Again, someone that's a Nazi has the absolute right to work within a company. They absolutely have the right.
Have the privilege that I have to just be basically self-employed. So they have to operate inside of a world where if they disagree with these people will completely misrepresent, malign their reputation, and systematically work to destroy their life.
Yes.
So yeah, that's the reason why it keeps getting pushed. It's because people like that infect these types of groups, and then anybody who goes against them gets labeled as something that's awful.
It's not even awful. That's the issue. It's complete propaganda. It's not even awful. It's actually more good, or actually, that was the saving ideology. I mean, look at Germany today. They're freaking up in flames. And just other problems. Like, stop, and also stop. They were fighting for something that was going to sustain their country. Enough of this propaganda. They were actually good. They were going to save their country. And by the way, the things that they were said to have done, not even accurate. That's just number one. Okay. But then the other thing also, hold on.
People like that infect these types of groups, and then anybody who goes against them gets labeled as something that's awful. Do you see kind of what I'm saying? They're racist against German American, we should cancel them? Look, you see kind of what I'm saying, right? Like, I'm just using myself as an example.
Returning to the post, they go on to make 7.
It's so interesting. Never mind.
The issue where they go on to talk.
But it's absolutely ridiculous. It's just, they were a preservation movement for their country. And, the other thing to mention here is that, oh man, there's so many problems. Oh my gosh. There were so many layers of issues. They didn't want to be replaced. There was a bunch of things going on at that time. And they elected a guy that was such an effective leader. I mean, he turned around the economy very quickly, and there's so many things. And again, he wanted his people. You absolutely deserve the right to make sure that your own people have a good and healthy future within their own country and for their own children and their fellow citizen. To say that's evil is so incorrect. And to say that defending yourself against an invasion makes you also evil, again, this is so corrosive. It's absolutely unbelievable. Man.
Yeah.
But there's a reason why people thought and believed these things. And it's not because they were crazy.
A number of production issues that Veilguard faced internally at BioWare. Much of this stuff being things that I discussed in my prior videos about Veilguard. And yet even then, this person doesn't really get some of this stuff right. For example, they say, the issue with Veilguard is that for the past decade, EA has attempted to maximize its profits by launching live service games that go against everything BioWare stands for as a company. The problem with this is that Veilguard itself was being created as a live service game at some point, but there's no evidence to suggest that was entirely the doing of EA as this post is trying to make it sound like. As a matter of fact, it was Gary Kay who took over as the BioWare GM who began to switch the production of Veilguard from live service back to single player. Therefore, the fact that it was a BioWare executive who was able to make the switch for Veilguard going from live service to single player also implies that when Veilguard was being developed as a live service game, that it was also BioWare's decision to do that. But here we have a Redditor.
Somebody says, going after developers, will I bust enjoyers down for people that enjoy it? The reason why is because they do the same thing. Like people are being called
Because they're shilling a bad product. Stop demanding that people accept your shilling.
perverts and weirdos for liking Stellar Blade. So you shouldn't be surprised when those same people have resentment towards people that effectively, like misrepresented them and demonized them. That's the reason why.
What the frick? Oh, man.
Trying to put all the blame on EA and act like BioWare is completely innocent and can do no wrong. Another example of this is where they say the issue with Veilguard is that it wasn't given enough time, money, or resources to start over from scratch with a
It's
third
only
iteration
given 9 years, right? I mean, come on. What do you expect?
of the game.
Come on,
It was
guys.
built on the bones of its previous iteration, an MMO, which isn't conductive to creating the sort of game we expect for the series. But the devs were told to make it work anyway. This is just objectively wrong information.
Wait, did I think I forgot something though that I was saying earlier, but it is amazing that they call people trying to preserve their country, they call them extremists. It's very interesting. And oh man, there was another point I forgot to mention there.
An MMO, which is
Whatever.
conductive to creating the sort of game we expect for the series. But the devs were told to make it work anyway. This is just objectively wrong information. While there was a period of time that Veilguard was being developed as a live service game, as we discussed briefly, it was
Very
going to
obvious
have
that it
some
was.
level of multiplayer components, but not on the level of a full-scale.
You know what's so crazy though? It's hating on a political movement that wants to make sure that its own people does not die. That meanwhile, as your country is dying and the people are suffering, you can't do what it takes to preserve your own people from outside invaders. It's so ridiculous, man. Love of God. Because humanitarianism, we have to allow invaders to mess up our country because that's humane. The other point I was going to mention, I nearly remembered it and then I forgot it again. Shoot. Oh, screw me.
MMO. Furthermore, the argument that BioWare didn't have enough money or resources is not a good argument considering how many devs have done so much more with their games with so much less. Skipping down to the last section where they also preface it with the issue. They say the issue with
That's also another thing that I think a lot of people are discovering is that you have like these studios that are thanks for the gifted subs, guys. Thank you. They can spend any way they want to. They can't honestly deny it was an extremely bad game despite the gaslighting. Yeah, and to be fair, it does look like a pseudo online game made in a single player. No, I think it's true. But like when you see games that are developed for like much smaller budgets and then you look at a game like this, I think that this is kind of what I was saying before about how AAA gaming is like becoming too big to succeed. Where it's just so over-designed. There's so many layers of red tape. There's so much like bureaucracy.
Too many people in the companies and there's so much noise. And now these people, they fear themselves and each other that barely any work gets done because you know that these people, they don't trust each other. There's too many people. They're from these crazily different backgrounds, specifically these corrosive backgrounds, right? Being an LGBT mafia member, there's a bunch of people that don't want to talk to that person in the office and they don't want to trust them and they don't want to share their creative ideas with that person because creative ideas are a form of self-expression. Now, not especially when you're being absolutely creative, it doesn't represent you, but it is something that's coming from your own mind regardless, and you're opening up that the hatch or the door to your mind. You could say the escape hatch or whatever of your own mind is some of your creative ideas. Even if it doesn't represent you, it's still something going on up in your head. So if there's someone that you're afraid is going to cancel you, are you really going to share all of your most creative ideas with them? Because creative concepts and ideas have insulting or air quotes offensive thoughts within them. Offensive according to really triggered people. Let's be clear about that. It used to not be offensive to think a lot of things, but nowadays it is. So are you really someone that's so willing to cancel you and police you and say that you committed wrongthink? Are you going to be creative with those people unless you're also an activist? We already know the answer, so that's why they have problems.
Involved that the creative mindset that goes into it, by the time that it actually is implemented into the game, it's completely distorted and removed.
is that EA wasted 10 years with their heads up their behinds, no direction, and constantly moving goalposts that are impossible to achieve. You can see again how this person's trying to put all the blame on EA and acting like BioWare is completely innocent. What they go on to say, and now the issue with Veilguard and BioWare in general, is that there are a host of angry, red-pilled netizens who don't even know what they should be angry about or what their demand should be. Instead, they point fingers at women and minorities who really don't and never have the sort of power that people think they do.
This is the problem that a lot of these people have, is that they argue from the perspective of their own type of judgment, and they don't think about it from the perspective of anybody else.
They never believe that they are the extremists and that they are also just making up a bunch of lies. Basically conspiracy theories, as they like to call it, but more so actually speaking a bunch of straw man arguments.
I think that many of these people have basically what's performative empathy, where their idea of empathy is doing things to people to make themselves look good. But the reality is that if you understand,
they think that pandering to other people that they deem as less than others will make them appear as virtuous and therefore correct.
The way that another person thinks, you can understand that they might not have the same values and the same type of, like, basically tier system of importance that you do. So a lot of these people get fixated on the reality of something without looking at the perception of it. If people's perception is that this is the case, for them, that's what they're going to make a decision off of. And you're not going to be able to tell them that they can't have that opinion because you've decided that is wrong. It's a very childish viewpoint to have. And I think that basically that's why
they are adult children.
Empathy. Well, I'm looking at things from a perspective that I think makes sense. Right? That's about it. I mean, I don't know what else I can do, but that's the way I see it.
Another pathetic strawman there. This whole post is full of objectively false information and strawman arguments, and of course tries to come off like some sort of champion for minorities as they overtly try and gaslight people. Buddy, you're really not doing much to help anyone when you're acting like some sort of deceptive.
Nobody wants a game with minorities in it. Simple. Maybe a bunch of people in India, they want to play an Indian game, but these are not Indian companies. And they shouldn't be, and they never should be. Yes, a game made for Americans should have white people almost exclusively, if not entirely exclusively. A game made for Europeans should be white people exclusively. It's not rocket science, man.
A liar, some sort of terminally online or Redditor. Their post ends by saying, my advice to fans. Oh yeah, just what the fans needed, advice from this weirdo. Great. Be intentional and be specific about the things you want in the next game. Don't just post angry ravings about DEI or woke things.
Whatever.
People do.
Whatever.
When they do, then you say that they're...
These people always act like they have the frickin' authority. No, screw you and shut the F up, you frickin' queer. Shut the F up and freaking sit down and learn your place. You're meaningless, you're useless, and nobody likes you. Shut the frick up.
They're racist or sexist. So they did. But then
My advice to you, shut up. You don't matter. You're not important. Nobody cares about you. And you're wrong. Freaking bite on it and get used to it.
get banned on Reddit because you can't say that on Reddit. But the problem is that banning them on Reddit doesn't make them buy the game. It just makes them go to another platform and get more radicalized and be more determined to make you fail.
They're not radicalized. You showed them the truth. That's number one. They move over to another platform and they say what they really think and believe. They don't get radicalized. They know the truth as it is. That's why they're speaking the way they do. And that's why they get censored the way they do. They're speaking the truth as it is. So they just move over to a different platform where they're allowed to speak honestly. That's it. There's no radicalization. Asmoncock, screw you.
And I think this is another example of it succeeding. It worked. Both of them to assume that there's going to be a next game. Yeah, exactly. You're right.
Actually look at the game and identify what is missing that you want to be there next time. Advocate for less
or even a
demand
company.
better production. And always support the developers and writers who you see on social media, because the actual movers and shakers at huge game companies are people you'll never hear about.
So
But
be
they're
a
happy to let
shill
those
for the
people get
company and be a shill for the
Be aware of your power as a
devs.
consumer and be specific about what you want. Oh my gosh, bro.
I think that this person's kind of right about what they're saying, and the more specific that you can be, the better. I think that for any developer, if you're going to add in any type of gender dynamics that are not male and female,
It's really simple. Fire everyone that is not a misogynist, sexist, racist, bigoted man. And then there you go. You're going to get a great game. But you've got to fire everyone that isn't a racist, sexist, misogynist, bigot, all the other things. Because guess what? That's what normal people are like. Guess what? That's what people used to be like until this age of censorship and controlling people so that you could tell them that they need to take gender affirming care. Yeah, that means let's have a proper return to form.
you are introducing yourself into an extremely divisive political issue. And involving divisive political issues in your video games is your right as an artist, and you have every right to do that. But don't be surprised when divisive political issues divide people, and then people choose not to buy your game because they don't want to be involved with them.
That's not what
and
it
I think
is.
that's the big issue that these people have, is that like there are these issues that happen, and they want to put them in the game, then do it. But like you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can have these things in the game,
Their issues are not problems except for failing nations.
or you can have a game that sells well to a mass audience. But you can't take fringe ideology, mass produce it, and then expect people to mass buy it. So that's the issue. And I think that there's a couple of other instances, like if you're race swapping a character, I think this is another one. If there's a character in a video game that is traditionally always one race, and then you race swap that character or you gender swap that character, you should expect to see people that are frustrated and angry about that because it's a divisive issue. Now, you might think that it shouldn't be a divisive issue, and
How could someone even think that? But yeah, there's retards that just, they think that their ethics should be God.
that does nothing because it still is. So, and this is the race swapping is forbidden Exodia. Yeah, exactly, right? And like Aragorn, yeah, exactly. I'm trying to think about that one, and there's a few other examples of this too. And some of these issues, like for example, like pronouns. Pronouns are very divisive. Like pronouns, and this is especially true with non-gender binary pronouns. So any pronouns beyond he and him or she and her, this is an extremely divisive issue. And
Insulting people's actual reliable knowledge and intelligence is what is so deeply insulting about it. It's like, gee, I understand and I can see that blacks behave very and think very differently than whites. And then I'm being told that I need to just see a black man in Aragorn. What the frick? And then when you're told that a woman is equal in leadership to a man, even though that you know from reality that women are never good leaders and they actually let you down constantly. And actually they never take accountability. They're not as reliable and they don't get the job done. I mean, like it's almost every single metric they fail at. And then you're being shown a woman that's a leader and a leader in a war scenario as a general. How many war general females have we gotten in games recently? It's over and over again. It's tiresome. It's propaganda. We know what men are. We know what women are. And when you sit there and you paint women to what they're not, and rather you paint them like a man, and then you paint also a black man like he's a white man, yeah, of course people are going to get upset. It's like, you're telling me that a freaking apple is an orange. You're telling me a dog is a cat. You're telling me that something that is false is true.
And the inclusion of even pronouns as a function is divisive. It's very evidently divisive based off of how many people express the fact that they care about it. So you can say that people shouldn't care about it. You can say that it shouldn't be an issue and this should be okay. That's totally fine. But they still won't buy the game. Even they? Yeah, nobody, absolutely. Remember the marketing? There was like a big Trump, what do you call it? There's a very big Trump commercial, basically, right? Promotion that said, Kamala's for, they, them, and, and Trump is for you, basically, right? I think that was a really, really strong argument for a lot of people because a lot of people are uncomfortable with like the breakdown of a gender binary. It is a genius ad. Yeah, it's a genius ad. And absolutely. Now, again, you might think that this is transphobic. You might think that this is bigoted. You might think that all of these things are true.
Good. Let it be. Good. Let it be. The only reason it matters is because they want to censor you for saying that's okay or for being that way. Screw you. People absolutely have the right to be whatever they want. If they're going to be transphobic, which doesn't exist, they absolutely have the right.
True. But at the end of the day, if you try to sell a game, here's a great example. If you try to sell a game and it's an entire black cast in China, you're going to have a really hard time. And you can say the Chinese are racist and they're bad and they shouldn't think that way.
Good. They are. They are. Good.
And you can be totally right, but you're still not going to sell the game. And so if you want to basically conscript a bunch of people into a suicide mission for their studio, engage with these topics at your own demise. But I think that it's very obvious that many people have spoken very loudly.
Be wrong at your own demise.
That they don't want to see this stuff. They're not interested in it. And if games put it in, people will be less likely to buy it. That's it. Then why did Wukong do so well? Because Wukong didn't have any type of messaging like that at all. There was no controversial contemporary politics in Black Myth Wukong. Yeah, there was none. It's a fucking monkey. Yeah, exactly.
To be one of the biggest bootlicker posts I've seen. Holy smokes.
That must have been a joke. Because Black Myth Wukong, because Wukong is a monkey, he's a black character. Oh man, I think that joke went over his freaking head.
I wouldn't be surprised if this person was.
Let me hear that again.
Less likely to buy it. That's it. Then why did Wukong do so well? Because Wukong didn't have any type of messaging like that.
Yeah, that was a good joke.
No,
that was a good joke.
Controversial contemporary politics in Black Myth Wukong. Yeah, there was none. It's a fucking monkey. Yeah, exactly.
To be one of the biggest bootlicker posts I've seen. Holy smokes. I wouldn't be surprised if this person was internally working at BioWare or something. At the same time, we've seen how plenty of these sort of modern audience types of people are just like this by default anyways.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I was thinking like maybe he's trying to make like a black people monkey correlation. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, but mods, you might want to check his logs and maybe ban that guy.
Oh, you little effing cock. And people say he's right wing. Get the F out of here. You piece of freaking filth. You piece of filth. He makes a freaking monkey joke about black people, which, by the way, Asmin cock, there's a lot of blacks that behave like actual monkeys. What the hell, man? What's wrong with you? It's actually correct. Okay. And also, it's just a joke. But it's a joke that happens to be correct. And you're literally going to censor that guy for that? Ridiculous. Well, there you go. Now he's going to go somewhere and get radicalized. Am I right? Jeez Louise. Jeez. Again, he presumes that everyone aligns to his centrist cucklord politics. What a piece of filth. Jeez Louise. And people think he's freaking right wing. Oh, pathetic.
Yeah, it could be that. I thought about that. I just didn't want to, really talk about it. But yeah.
It's funny.
Let's take a look at the top
It's funny, and you're freaking cocked.
Wrap it up there because that's enough brain rot. But
yeah.
Let's take a look at this. It says, as much as I appreciate the sentiment, I find this to be preaching to the choir a little bit. I think the people who are
and then, of course, the
subscribed here
retards in the chat. Mods, get him. Get him, mods. Oh, we don't allow the racists in here. Yeah, we jerk each other off around here. I love me and my multicultural little brotherhood we got going on. Oh yeah, my diverse melanated friends that also like to bang my daughter when she's helpless and defenseless. I love this. Thank you, mods. Thank you. Let's all jerk off together. God, you freaking imbeciles. You make me disgusted.
illusion about why Veilguard has the shortcomings.
Absolute pieces of filth.
With the anti-woke people.
Again, they just want the little freaking circle jerk, the little freaking echo chamber. Good for someone. He only made a joke and you're going to silence him over that? You are so freaking pathetic.
Because they
so
never started a
pathetic.
conversation with reason, spreading misery.
He didn't even say anything that was wrong. He did nothing wrong and you're going to punish him. What a freaking piece of filth.
Is their only chance of being seen or heard in their lives. So any engagement, even if you unequivocally dunk on them, is giving them what they want. They don't like Dragon Age, they don't like games, they don't like anything really. They only engage because they see someone enjoying something and they can't have that. It's truly ironic.
See, this is the thing about leftists though. No one is actually afraid to say or think what they believe. They're just afraid of getting silenced and that's it. And these guys, like Asmin, they will do everything in their power to silence you because you committed wrong think and you need to be policed because you were labeled by a leftist as extreme.
Man. It's too bad, huh? Yeah. It's too bad. You can definitely have political or divisive topics and conversations in games. But see,
you can, just don't be wrong.
The thing with Metal Gear Solid as an example is that there aren't really a lot of fans of the way that most people are not fans of the military industrial complex. That's the difference. They're not fans with shadow.
No, you could be, but that's a different topic.
And, like the military industrial complex and hidden deals and paying off senators. That's what I was talking about being divisive. Metal Gear Solid isn't divisive, it's political. It's the same reason why Metaphor was popular. People don't generally like racism, at least here in the West.
No, they do. Oh, they do. It's just that you censor and you silence everyone that does. So then you think that everyone believes in this, and also you create that reality for yourself. You constantly censor people that are racist. And by the way, again, everyone's a racist, but you're just the type of retard that thinks that you're not racist because you sit there and you stand up for the brown man that doesn't give a crap about you and calls you cracker in all their songs and all their media, and they constantly talk about banging white women and hating on white men. You just ignore all of it because you don't care. Because you're a cocklord and you think that no one likes racism. But yeah, that's absolutely incorrect, Asmin cock.
Most people do not like racism. They might be vaguely racist,
I'm sure.
but I think that most people have a distaste of institutional racism. And so
Whatever.
those that criticize that and put that in a respectful context and provide commentary on it will be appreciated.
One day you're going to learn, once America has its Tower of Babel, that a lot of people, they're freaking fed up with this. They're fed up with this, and you can't keep on silencing it.
Appreciated by this type of a community. You're covering something that's generally accepted as bad. Gender ideology is only accepted and toted by a small group of people. Exactly. It is. And that's the issue, is that, like, how many people do you think agree that, like, you can be non-binary versus how many people do you think agree that the military-industrial complex is bad? I wonder which one casts a wider net. It's just, again, common sense.
Where is there the most free thought and other factors? I mean, you can make people agree to anything as long as you make all the conditions line up and all the factors and also the morality, because you can moralize anything. So, I mean, whatever, man.
It's also the implicit lecturing. Yeah.
Ironic how this
No,
person talks about
people-
saying things with objective reason, as they simultaneously
No.
act like a post with
No.
objectively false information is the truth, and then acting like people who criticize Dragon Age the Veilguard just don't like video games at all and don't like anything. What an insane thing to say.
Yeah, we
and
hate
of
all
course,
video
equally
games.
as insane is their whole thing about, like, these people have never been seen or heard in their lives. They just want to spread misery and can't let anyone enjoy anything. You know, all that really weird stuff they said.
It's all personal. It's all this, like, personal emotion.
No, yeah, they're miserable. They're what's the other thing that they said? I don't care. You're the one that's miserable. You're the one that's angry. You're the one that's bitter. Everyone else trashing on you, they're having a good time. They're just trashing you. It's good for them, not for you.
Emotional thinking. It's not. There's no, like. It's not productive in any way. There's no real, like, I don't know. Like, I'm trying to think, like, what the word for that is. Like, there's just nothing going on there. It's just not logical. Yeah, it's just somebody basically.
Yeah, there is a word for that. It is. Oh shoot. Is it ineffable? Is that the term? Ineffable? Or inconscionable. Inconscionable might be the other word. It's inconscionable, or I think effable. Let's see. It's let me look that up. Ineffable. What does that mean again? Incapable of being expressed into words. Indescribable. Yep. It's an ineffable stance, yeah. I mean, what are you really to speak for on that? Really? Genuine question. There's another word that is also similar to this, but right, it's like it's stupefying. That's another word, stupefying. There's another term. There's a bunch of terms for this where someone says something it can't even be reasoned with.
You know, it's not. There's no, like. It's not productive in any way. There's no real, like, I don't know. Like, I'm trying to think, like, what the word for that is. Like, there's just nothing going on there. It's just not logical. Yeah, it's just somebody basically. You know, it's the way that they feel.
Inconscionable. I mean, I already said that. Inconscionable. There's another one outside of that. I forget what.
Desperate vilification, exactly. Yeah, there's no substance, there's no, you know, logic to it or anything. It's just
So
an
yeah, there's
outburst.
definitely enough brain rot. I'm gonna leave it there.
Belligerent is another term for how they're behaving, right? Just making up victimhood and all that. There's other words for it. Belligerent. It's oh shoot, what's the other one? What's the other term? There's a synonym to belligerent. It is. I forget what it is.
The point of all this is to say that based on today's news, it is now officially confirmed that Veilguard is a financial failure. And as you can see, the modern audience types are freaking out and becoming crazier than ever, like going full aggro rabid mode. So yeah, let me know what you think about all that stuff. Thank you so much.
That's all they
If
have.
you enjoyed my coverage, please consider liking and or subscribing. I appreciate your support, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.
I think also these people are not stupid in a lot of cases. They're just simply misled and they have different viewpoints. And so what ends up happening is that I think that they realize the fact that when a game like this fails massively, it absolutely hurts the entire, their entire movement. I think that they're aware of the optics of this. And that's why they're also trying to defend it, is because when a game like this fails and then...
Well, yeah, the optics are hurt, so you just need to silence people.
It's shown to be
That's all
failure.
it
They're like,
is.
oh my God, this is our ideology and it's dying. You know, somebody asked the question, I saw this during the video, I didn't want to cover it until I finished, but there's a video, give it a like. That's a really, really, really good video. I liked it a lot. And I found it to be very funny. The Matt Darath posted from Bioware. No, I didn't. I'd have to see it myself. You'd have to link it to me. And brain rot delusional people. Well, they have an agenda, right? And that's what's more important to them. Why do people think that insulting the opposite side is going to make them want to vote for them in the next election? Because objecting to those insults was not allowed. That's the reason why. And also because it was working. Like during COVID, you had a pretty much at least from my adult life, probably the highest level of restriction on speech and thought that I've pretty much ever seen.
Yes.
And it was universal. It was with phones. It was with not really phones, but it was with what do you call it? applications, it was with video games, it was with YouTube, it was with social media, it was with everything, and it was with the government as well. And so like you had this like unilateral perspective that you couldn't really go against. And I think that because of that, people were convinced and they were lured into a false sense of security that nobody would be able to question these viewpoints ever. And as soon as the questions started rolling in, and I think this happened, by the way, because of Twitter. When Elon Musk bought Twitter, I think that was the turning point. And I think that like that was the point where as soon as you have one break in like the wall, then the flood begins. And I think that was the break that caused the entire flood.
Well, you have that, or you have bloody massacre revolution is also what you have.
And changed everything.
Because I could feel it in the air that people were so fed up. And I was like, something's going to happen. Like someone's going to freaking lose it. At some point, people are just going to freaking, you're trying to put a cork in the freaking kettle and it's just going to freaking steam off. And it's going to be violent. It's going to be nasty. And they thought that they could put the cork into the keg. They thought that they could just cover this whole thing and that people were not going to get violent over it. What Elon did saved the hides on the freaking left because they were going to experience true violence if people were not allowed to speak for very long. And that depends on how much the problems would have become a bigger and bigger issue. I mean, it's really hard to get right-wingers to actually go into violence. Leftists, if you tell them that their toes don't match, they'll commit violence onto you. Literally. I mean, they will commit violence over anything. But right-wingers, I mean, even while they're silenced and their First Amendment right is being actively infringed, they will even put up with that. But it's like, I think at some point that would have blown off the keg. But I don't know when. I don't know when.
Why should we support devs?
Probably when Trump would not have won the election because absolute censorship. He would not have won the election. Just because you're not allowed to speak. So how are you supposed to win? When your enemy is the only one allowed to speak? Then yeah, I mean, so it would have been when he would have lost the second election. Or well, the third, I guess, or what? Well, the second loss, yeah. That would have definitely caused a fallout of civilization. A very nasty one. So X existing as a platform is huge because the left right now, they think that they're tough. They think that, oh, you right-wingers, you're so evil and wrong. But it's like you guys would be exterminated tomorrow. The second the right wing has freaking had it, you would be dead within freaking seconds. You would be rounded up and executed. You are being shown mercy because everyone right now is following the law. The second you throw away civilization because you think that you can be a tyrannical bigot, by the way, but I don't like that term because of the left, but I mean it, of course, in its objective sense. But because you're a tyrannical Marxist, you just think that no one's allowed to fight you. But once you push too hard, you will awaken the bear and you will die.
We only want good games. I don't care about the devs. I hate this crap. Support the devs. I agree with you. And I feel the same way about streamers too. Like this is why I try not to farm a lot of parasocial stuff. And like, oh, well, this is the way I feel and all this stuff. And this is what's going on in my life. And this is so sad or whatever. It's because it's just weird and it's cringe. Like you guys come here to be entertained for the content, for fun.
I don't like people saying that's weird because that's that person's life and that's them being real. There's people that now here's the problem. Turning your content into social hour. Oh, I just broke up. Oh, I just this. Oh, I just that. That's weird. You can tell the type of people that farm their personal life. That's weird. But sharing your personal existence with the people that know you through your content, I'm battling through this right now, doing that, doing the other thing. There's nothing wrong with that because you're just engaging as a normal individual with other people. It's normal to do that. You're not a robot. You're not some inanimate or no, there's a better term. You're not some incorporeal being that just happens to show up and talks about things. No, you exist. So talking about your stuff, as long as you're not getting yourself hurt by doing it, you know, it makes sense to do it. There's nothing wrong with it. But you shouldn't get addicted to it, and you shouldn't use it as obviously a scapegoat for yourself, you know, to make yourself feel good about your life or whatever. Like, there are people who identify with sharing their problems, and that's the problem. But people who just share about their life and what's going on, there's nothing wrong with that. So like, for instance, when Asmin, he's shared stuff about his own situation, there's nothing wrong with that. But anyways, whatever.
I'm sure a lot of you guys like me and you care about me and you care about my well-being, and I really appreciate that. But I also don't want to use that as an excuse to not make sure that you're happy. And so it's just really common sense, right? It's the same as like anytime you go to like your barber, right? You go to your barber. I went to a barber about 7 years ago, right? It's something like that. And you know, yes, obviously you care about the guy, but you also want to cut your fucking hair too.
But also, like, if you know the guy and you have conversations with him, it's perfectly fine to have you know, there's some things where it's like, okay, it's okay to talk about anything, especially with your barber, talking about like, oh, you know, how's the kids and how's this? That's how people always used to speak. Like, this is why I hate the term. It's a new thing, parasocial, because people were always social. That's just all it is. It's being social. Oh, hey, what's going on with you? Oh, hey, you know, this. And yeah, sometimes people, they don't want to share information. Okay, that's fine. But it's like, okay, you know, how's the wife? How's the kids? Oh, this, that. Okay, cool. Well, you know, I'm like an absolute degenerate. I'm jerking off the Tifa. No, I'm jerking off the Tifa, and I'm dreaming of our family. I'm dreaming of my family with Tifa. Oh my gosh. Anyways. But no, you know, it used to be normal that people would share just common information about themselves and their life. There's nothing wrong with that. It's when you live within sharing about your life, that's when things get weird, is when you turn your own life into your content or into this weird information spigot. That gets weird. But that's because of what you're doing is weird, not because you're being social or, you know, sharing social information. That's not weird.
And so it's not like everything is transactional.
Because being social is being human, and being human is not weird.
Way that's unhealthy. So yeah, I think it's totally fine. And I hate that people want to blame investors when it's the devs that are ruining games. I think why not both? I think it's multiple groups of people that are doing it themselves.
Yeah,
so,
I mean,
yeah,
it's
exactly.
a bunch of people. They are the problem.
So yeah, nope, I'm a hate watcher and a gooner. Get fucked. Okay. All right. And so yeah, I don't care about you. Entertainment. Yeah, yeah.
You know what I really think is the problem right now? You need to pay attention to people whenever they have these terms and definitions, right? For instance, calling themselves parasocial or saying anything's parasocial. It's like, no, the real issue is you are apathetic. You are antisocial. There's something weird about you. You find it weird to share personal information with people. Now, again, there's a time and a place, and there's too much and there's too little. But the fact that you think that this is just something to just completely write off and say like, oh, this is weird and you shouldn't be open and honest about yourself and blah, blah, blah. You are the weirdo. And the fact that you don't care about what's happening for your barber, again, if you barely know someone, you don't want to know everything. But when you know about somebody and you've asked them and you've had conversations, again, and that's what you know YouTubers, you know who they are. They've shared information. Oh, hey, I just had a kid. Oh, hey, this, oh, hey, that. There's nothing wrong with keeping up with them a little bit on certain key information. And people are calling this parasocial. I don't care about this term. I hate the term. I hate so many modern day terms. Because all it does is it demonizes normality. Knowing about somebody and just knowing about their life, apparently it makes you parasocial and weird. No, it just means that you know about them and you're just like, dude, I hope you get through this. Dude, I hope you're okay. Dude, this, dude, that. There's nothing weird about it. So sitting there and like, oh man, sitting there and caring about the person that you keep up with, there's nothing weird about that. Again, like, I think most people operate within common sense. I think that you have people, though, that are becoming so apathetic and so antisocial that they think that whenever people care about them, whenever people are like, hey, man, just hope you're doing all right, you're in my prayers or whatever, it's nothing serious. It's just that they have considerance for you. That's it. Yeah, people having consideration for you, that's not weird. But now they want to say that's parasocial to even consider someone in their situation. No, you're just being weird. You're the weirdo for the fact that you think that nobody should care about each other and that you shouldn't care about your barber. That's weird.
And I get that. I totally understand it. And I think
You're so nihilistic. You just given up on yourself and other people. That's weird.
it's a healthy perspective to have, by the way. It's very healthy to have, and I wish more streamers had that perspective. But anyway, somebody asked the question, do content creators have too much power? And the answer to that is, in some cases, actually, I think that they do. But the instance is that you can't really control that, because even if you can control it,
You shouldn't control it exactly, but there's deeper problems about that. It's not whatever, man. The freaking leftists, man, it's always about controlling people. Oh, you have too much power as a streamer. What? What? Whatever. Okay, you're just a retard loser. You're a queer, and this guy's too popular. You don't like the cool kids club, and you want them to be disbanded. What's wrong with you? Who cares?
like there's no functional way you can control that.
Make your own group then. Make your own group. Stop it.
Wouldn't be overused or misused. So I think that really the fact is that content creators only have power if the audience gives them that power. And I'll give you some examples. So there have been video games that I've made videos about, right? Like let me think of an example of a game that my viewers really didn't like, but I thought was a good game. I don't know. Do you guys have any examples? I'm sure that I can think of a couple of them. But
Cock Simulator.
what do you guys think? Prince of Persia?
Mass Immigration Simulator.
Yeah, great example. Thank you.
Feminist Simulator, which is tied in with the sequel, which was turn your husband into a cuck beta simp that watches you get railed in by multiple men from different ethnicities. Simulator. Be the man watching your wife be a girl boss in the workplace. Simulator.
Okay, so I played this game. And so I tried the new Prince of Persia game. Nice, 350k views, everything. There were a lot of people, and the like and dislike is okay, but this is actually a pretty bad ratio for a just gameplay video. And everybody is shitting on the game. Everybody is negative about the game. And so just because I made a video about this game doesn't necessarily mean that everybody in my audience is going to like the game. They're going to think that it's garbage. So this entire concept that's built off of the idea that
I'm just going to be honest, bro. Like, I think at some point for a guy like Asmin, he has the money. Bro, just do what Donald Trump does. Go get in a freaking, what do they call it? The heat bed and give yourself a freaking tan. Just freaking do it, bro. Freaking women do it. Women who want to be freaking models, they do it. Just freaking do it. Like, Asmin, bro. Just saying.
Creators are these like mastermind, fucking mental, wizards that can control the thoughts and emotions of everybody is total bullshit.
It's not that being white is bad, by the way. It's just that, I mean, there comes a point where it's like, okay, you really have not seen like any of the sun. And like, I'm not trying to fully crap on it anyways. I'm just saying he has the money and it would maybe just do him a little bit of good. Cause I think there's slight health benefits too, unless I'm getting it wrong. I don't know. I have no idea.
The fact is that, and you'll see this with Kingdom Come Deliverance, by the way. There have been a number of content creators that have made it effectively their job to shit on Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 for a number of creative decisions that they chose to make.
Not creative decisions. They're supporting homosexuality in a Christian setting. That is disgusting filth. Homosexuality is disgusting on its own. Then you involve that with Christianity. What the frick? Stop it, Asmin. You're being a freaking atheist, liberal, nihilistic cuck right now. What the frick?
I'm not going to get into too much of that or anything else, but my point is that those people will not have probably that big of an influence on the sales of the game. They won't. Yeah, they're not going to have that big of an influence. And the reason why is because the movement for it
How long is this video by now?
It's just simply irrelevant. People just don't care.
Oh, well, we're done. Nice. Jeez Louise, man. I always try to get through this so super fast, but oh, man. It's...
Young, yeah, I got a chance to play Assassin's Creed.
Well, okay. Anyway. Well, that's it. So there's nothing else to say except make sure you pick up my books. Literally, dude, the reason I do this channel and the only reason I will continue doing this is because, listen, I made my books for you guys. I want to be the solution to your problems. So I put my work into that. I make my books. I make my stories literally because if you are a modern day anything, you don't know what a good story is. I made my books so that you can freaking have good storytelling again. So stop being a retard queer and pick up my freaking trash. It's just that simple. I want to provide for you the stories that should belong in our movies and our games.